Hi there. Welcome to Apple World. We definitely realize that our men are not perilous, and that they are great dads, and those who need to see it are the individuals that are at home. The white individuals who haven't comprehended that for quite a long time. Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles, stayed under the radar and seldom gave meetings or talked about her family out in the open. Well, it seems to be that is going to change in light of the fact that Tina has another venture to advance. And she, as of late, offered a few remarks about her child, Jay-Z, that didn't agree with a ton of Beyonce's fans, in addition to the fact that fans presently hauling are Tina for being musically challenged, but at the same time they're saying her public assertions could hurt Beyonce's standing and her vocation over the long haul. So what precisely did Tina say regarding Jay-Z? And why are fans calling her a two-timer? See, Tina Knowles is currently advancing a new documentary series that she created called Profiled: The Individual of Color. The series looks at the starting points of the far and wide generalizations that have saturated society and influenced the existence of people of color in America for a really long time. Profiled: The Individual of Color was made in organization with the Oprah Winfrey Organization, and it debuted on Saturday, February 12, solely on disclosure. In addition, on Thursday, February 10th, Tina showed up on CBS Mornings facilitated by Gail Lord and tended to an occurrence she discussed in her new docuseries, including a meddlesome white lady who stood up to her about letting Beyonce wed a hoodlum rapper. I can recall getting on a plane and a more established white lady saying, "Glory, your child is a criminal rapper." Right. How could you let him wed your girl? It was simply surprising to me, and I said, "No, really, my child is a chief Tina." She then told Gail that the explanation for such countless individuals generalizing people of color like J is a result of the manner in which the media depicts them. She didn't consider him a chief or even a gifted big name that was an extraordinary finance manager. And around then, I thought you realize I can't be frantic at her, since that is what the media depicts. She likewise made sense of that the objective of her new docuseries is to expose those generalizations and show positive instances of people of color. So your objective, this is what precisely, totally to expose those generalizations that our men are hazardous. You realize they could be an ad judicator, they could be, they have no clue, but since it's a person of color, particularly assuming they're of some height, that they're risky. Tina's words resounded with many fans, and they lauded her for shouting out about such a significant issue. However, see, these fans are in the minority. Most of them people who watch Tina's documentary series and her meeting on CBS are really saying she's the one sustaining perilous generalizations. See, a ton of people of color have accurately brought up how this narrative is totally musically challenged and heartless toward the situation of people of color. As per measurements delivered by the FBI in September 2021, something like 4 people of color and young ladies were requested each day in the U.S. in 2020. The information from the U.S. Division of Equity shows that indeed, even before the Desire-19 pandemic, people of color were over twice bound to encounter abusive behavior at home than white ladies, and during the pandemic, the rate of viciousness against individuals of color rose decisively. On top of that, individuals of color are likewise less inclined to report their accomplices for homegrown as a result of their general doubt in the framework. What's more, the trepidation that they probably won't be accepted, and to this end, fans are currently calling out Tina Knowles for utilizing her star ability to depict individuals of color as the casualties as opposed to zeroing in on the violations executed by people of color against people of color. There are a ton of shrewd remarks via web-based entertainment about Tina's new narrative, and here are only some of them. The energy the African American population places into pampering men more than even ladies and kids has consistently flabbergasted me. One fan said, "Look how safeguarded dark guys are. They are the most safeguardery class, close to white ladies." I am so pleased with the people of color in these remarks defending reality that someone else composed. Tina is tenaciously musically challenged and obtuse towards people of color to make this babble with the pace of dark femicide going up each and every day. Because of people of color, she knows great and well she's covering over current realities with these untruths and attempting to quietness people of color as the need might arise be heard the most. The Knowles family doesn't represent people of color or our security, and she made it clear with this film. And another fan added, "Up, how sweet of Tina." Hello, I have a thought she ought to do one about dark femicide. We should not neglect to feature how most of individuals of color's executioners are people of color. On the off chance that you didn't have the foggiest idea about this, that is not an unexpected. The media inclines toward the exploitation of individuals of color. I'm cherishing these remarks. Man pleased with you, all individuals of color. Many fans have likewise brought up how it's double dealing of Tina to involve Jay-Z to act as an illustration of a generalization individual of color when he, at the end of the day, added to propagating those equivalent generalizations through his music after the entirety of it's an obvious fact that before he turned into an extremely rich person, big shot, Jay-Z was a road-level vendor who later benefited by commending that way of life in his tunes. I am familiar with spending plans. I was a seller, Jay-Z told Vanity Fair in 2013. So justifiably, fans believe Tina's been somewhat two-faced for whining about Jay-Z being generalized in the media depiction. Stand by. Has she paid attention to his verses? One fan commented, and another additional, this is despicable. People of color have stayed at work past 40 hours to make these generalizations for themselves, remembering your child for regulation. The explanation the woman didn't consider Jay-Z a chief is a direct result of the words out of his own mouth. Another fan said it's not the media he composes and raps his own verses in. A portion of Beyonce's fans likewise took to web-based entertainment to call out Tina and say she ought to gain from her girl and not remark on things she doesn't comprehend in light of the fact that her remarks could really hurt Beyonce's profession. Tina is the sort to be cherished and loved by people of color her entire life. She has the specific aggregate that the young men and men locally set up in place of worship. One fan said this in light of the fact that she isn't impacted by colorism. She will distinguish more with individuals of color than with darker-looking people of color. In this way, she will safeguard people of color. She will disregard all of the details and rationale just to keep her situation as a profoundly wanted lady. Locally, she is continuously going to assume her part. One more fan on Twitter shared a request to have Tina's narrative dropped for overlooking the exploitation of people of color and wrote in the subtitle, Beyonce ought to have halted her for making profile the person of color. Tina Knowles Lawson is seriously endangering people of color, and young ladies sign the request and assist with saving the existences of individuals of color, and young ladies assist us with halting the exploitation of our miscreants, and afterward there are likewise a ton of fans who brought up perhaps Tina ought to have mulled over depicting Jay-Z as a survivor of media generalizations when he openly conceded